Hello everybody, it's Brian coming at you from house arrest. This week on house arrest, I have been playing Cyberpunk 2077. I'm almost done with it. In fact, I was about to finish the last mission of the main storyline and the power went out last night. So I still have to finish it. Still haven't played Phantom Liberty. Still haven't even gone into Dogtown yet, but I finished pretty much all the rest of the main quest. It's a fantastic game. It's top notch. I don't care what happened at launch. I love video games. I always have. And my kind of video game, what I look for in a video game is single player. I don't do online stuff. I like single player experiences that really immerse you in a world and tell a good story. So naturally, I love CD Projekt Red. I've also dabbled a bit in VR, and that's really cool to me. The immersion aspect again. And I've seen things, I haven't used them, but I've seen things that they're working on where they have like vests that you can put on that give you like tactical feedback. I know that the PlayStation 5s or the PSVR 2 for the PlayStation 5 has like tactical feedback in the headset itself, so you can feel stuff. I have a Valve Index, and the cool thing about that VR setup is that the controllers really are awesome because they track every single finger. So you can see your hands in the game moving the same way that you're moving them. And then they have this other stuff that I've seen that are just kind of like these things they're already available, but they're kind of like early prototype kind of things of the sort where you can actually stand in a little area and move your feet. It simulates like you're actually moving your legs to walk. And then they have other things that I've seen where they're working on like how to make it so you can like smell the things that you could smell in the game and stuff. I mean, this stuff is crazy, and it seems pretty clear that what we're going for in this is we're trying to emulate life, like real life, as closely as possible. So imagine like the perfect immersive gaming experience, like VR thing possible. What would it look like? Well, you'd put it on, right, and you wouldn't be able to tell that you were wearing a headset, right? It would just be completely, like, you wouldn't be able to see any borders or anything. You'd just be completely immersed. The resolution would be insane, like 12K, whatever. You can't see any pixels on anything. Everything would be drawn perfectly. The lighting would be perfect, like flawless ray tracing effects. You'd have maybe like a full body suit on where you could actually feel everything. The gloves that you were wearing would shape around the objects that you were picking up and like conform to that, so it felt like you were actually holding things. And maybe it would even go beyond the surface level, tactile sensations and stuff, and it could actually tap into your nervous system, and you could feel even on a deeper level how you are interacting with the game world. You'd be able to smell all the smells and even taste the tastes. It would be completely indistinguishable from the life that you're already experiencing right now. That's an interesting thought to me because it poses an interesting question. Why is a shitty emulated version of real life so much more engaging and interesting often to us than our actual life that we're actually living? One of the first answers that comes to mind is that in these games you can be in different worlds and do different things, and you have different abilities, and we can basically role play as superheroes or whatever, or wizards or whatever, and that stuff's not available in the real world. So that maybe has something to do with it, but that doesn't explain like the whole category of games that just attempt to emulate the regular world or just doing mundane things. Like there's VR games where you just are checking things out at a cash register or stocking shelves or whatever. One of the most popular games in the world is Grand Theft Auto, which is actually an attempt to sandbox simulate a real city in the real world and allow you to interact with it as realistically as possible. I remember when San Andreas came out and everybody was stoked on the fact that, oh man, if you eat bad food, you'll gain weight, and if you exercise, you'll get ripped. That mechanic was included to, create a more immersive experience where you feel more connected to this character that you're playing. Okay, so why is it still more engaging often to do mundane, tedious things in a game with your game character more than it is to do it in your actual life? Like, why is it so much more interesting to level up and your stats on your game character than it is to, up your stats in your actual physical body? We could even take this one step further from the tedious things that you're doing in a game to the tedious people that you're pretending to be in a game. Take any of the three main characters from Grand Theft Auto 5, for example. Michael, he's a rich guy, has a nice house in Los Santos, but has a deadbeat kid who just spends all his money, a wife that's probably cheating on him, and his life is empty and he's miserable, right? He's going to therapy, he's miserable. Franklin, he's a gangbanger from the hood, living in the ghetto with his aunt and trying to like hit licks so that he can get some money, to move up in the world. He's miserable. Trevor is a tweaker who lives in a trailer park. And yet, pretending to be these characters has captivated hundreds of millions of people for over a decade now. What this really comes down to is that word right there, pretending. When you engage in this role play, when you immerse yourself in these characters, you know that you're pretending. Because if you actually thought that you were any of those three characters from Grand Theft Auto, for example, you would be as miserable as they are. You wouldn't know the difference. Like, it would not be fun to actually be those guys. If the game had a way of like tapping into your head so that while you were playing it, you were actually identified with these characters and you actually had the thoughts that were going through their heads as they go through their day-to-day life, you wouldn't like the game. You wouldn't want to play it. It wouldn't be fun. In the VR grocery store checkout game, if you were actually identified with the grocery store clerk, you would just be as bored as you would if you were working at a grocery store for 8 hours a day. The funny thing is the actual doing the grocery store checkout thing would be way more engaging in your real life, because you're actually got full control of all the, like we were talking about earlier, like if you actually had complete control of the feeling and the interactions and all the people that came through were like, you could totally interact with them and stuff. Like, that's actually a cooler game. It's way cooler than the shitty cartoon version where you're checking out groceries in shitty VR. But still, the VR game is more engaging and fun because you're not identified with what's actually happening there. It's the identification that makes it not fun. It's not what we're doing in the game. We could be doing anything in the game, as long as we still know that we're just playing. We want immersive experiences. We want it to be as immersive as possible and feel as real as possible and get in there and feel like the tension and the excitement as much as possible. But we don't want to be identified so much with it that we forget that we're just playing, or else it loses the fun element. And what I'm getting at here is the reasons that it sucks to be in your life is exactly the same thing. It's because you're so identified with this character. The more identified you are, the less potential for fun there is, and the less you realize that we're just playing a game. It's possible to disidentify enough with yourself that you don't take this all so seriously, and then this life actually becomes the coolest, most immersive, most open world, most go do whatever you want, interactive, crazy, every NPC has got its own story and its own thing and you can interact with anybody and you can engage in anything and you can build your stats in any way you want and you can completely just take any direction you want and take any main quest line that you want or do any side quests that you want, all kinds of stuff. And they're the most engaging, crazy, immersive quests and tasks and things ever. And you can actually just start playing this game. Song of the week is actually Harry Styles. As it was. That's what it's called. So, look, this is a testament to it doesn't matter how popular the song is, it doesn't matter how poppy it is, it doesn't matter who wrote it, it can still be a good song. And this is a really good song. I think this is a really solid, great song. Everything about it. It flows well. It's simple, but it has this nice little rolling circular flow. It's got a nice little main riff that it plays on throughout the whole thing. The lyrics are great. It's just got a great vibe. I love it. So you've probably heard it a million times, but if you've listened to it and are like, fuck that, try it again and just listen to it as if it wasn't, Harry Styles and the most popular overplayed song in the world right now. So, anyway, I'll see you guys next week.